Hey, what's up soldiers? My name's GregFPS, the Zombies Extraordinaire, and welcome back to another Call of Duty Zombies Top 10. Today guys, we're going to be doing the top 10 hardest Easter egg steps in Black Ops 4 Zombies so far. Now this video idea was kind of from Brian Campos' comments, who commented top 5 worst Easter egg steps in Black Ops 4 and tips on how to do them. So if you guys have any top 5 or 10 ideas that you want to see here on the channel, make sure to let me know down below. Before we get into the video, if you do enjoy, please drop a like, subscribe if you're new, and follow me on my Twitch. And yeah, without further ado guys, let's jump right into the list. Before I get to the number 10 spot, I just want to let you guys know that this is completely fan voted over on Twitter. I asked to tell me the hardest Easter egg step in Black Ops 4 Zombies, and this is the response from that. So all the comments I tallied up and counted and made a top 10 according to how many each one was commented. So don't get mad at me if you disagree with the list or you think the ordering is wrong. This is what people said on Twitter, and I always do this for like every top 10. So if you guys want to be part of it, you can always comment over on Twitter and follow me there at GregFPS. Coming in at the number 10 spot is going to be doing the Brutus breaking the wall step to open up to the Warden's lair on Blood of the Dead. Now, I was actually surprised people commented this one, but I can understand why. A lot of the time, people will go down when they lead Brutus up there, and what I recommend that you guys do to not go down is pull out your shield and use Victorious Tortoise. It's going to help you a ton from the front, and all sides will be protected, so if zombies jump under the window there, you're fine and protected, which is really nice. Now another thing to keep in mind guys is you can now do this with monkeys, which makes it a lot easier because you can throw a monkey and then you can kind of leave, and Brutus will actually open up the wall with a monkey instead, as long as you throw it in the right spot. It's a little bit finicky, but I can understand why people thought this step was pretty difficult. For like my first couple games doing this, it was on round 17 and I was having a lot of trouble myself as well. Now that you can do it on an earlier round, it's much more easy, but I was kind of surprised people actually commented this one, but it comes in at the number 10 spot. Coming in at the number 9 spot is going to be the times on Voyage of Despair. Now, to be honest with you guys, I think this step is not very difficult, but it does have a learning curve to it, and that's what you guys are going to notice. A lot of these different Easter egg steps, they all have a learning curve, and once you understand how it works, it becomes much more easier. So there are 6 different areas where you can get a spawn, and it's going to have a triangle, either a regular triangle, a triangle downward, or it's going to be a triangle with a line through it, or a downward triangle with a line. And each one is going to correspond to one of the switches that is in the front of the boat, and then also that is going to be the minutes that you see on the clocks, and then in the back of the boat, 2 down in the engine room and 2 right where you activate the Sentinel artifact are going to be 2 more switches that you have to change, and that is going to be the hours. So this one is definitely really tricky if you don't understand it, but I would recommend checking out an Easter egg guide. I have a good one for Voyage. If you have trouble with that step, I will link that down below if you guys want to check that out. To be honest with you guys, once you understand it, it really gets a lot easier. Coming in at the number 8 spot is going to be the Iceberg step on Voyage of Despair. This is the step right before the boss fight on Voyage, where you have to make your way all the way from the spawn area all the way over to the poop deck and the back of the poop deck. Now along this way, you're going to be breaking blocks of ice in order to get to the next area, and you're going to be getting swarmed with zombies. You're going to get stokers, you're going to get a Blightfather at the end. So there's definitely a lot of different bosses. Now what I recommend you guys do for this one is definitely make sure that you have the purity effect, which is the ice effect on a Kraken, and also make sure that that Kraken is upgraded. This is going to help you out a ton. Another thing that's really good to use is any of the specialist weapons. The staff works well, the hammer works really well, even the like literally all of them work well. The Viper and Dragons work great, the Chakrams, everything's going to help you a ton. So just make sure that you guys focus fire on the icicle, and you should be able to make it through. Now, the only thing that kind of sucks about this one is if you don't go fast enough, you do start to slow down, which makes it a lot more difficult, and then you have to restart. So make sure that you guys are fully ready to go and you have really good weapons before you shoot the sun and activate it, because it's going to start right after the planet step. Coming in at the number 7 spot is going to be finding the seagulls. Now, to be honest with you guys, I did not think this one was ever going to be on the list for a hard step, but it seems like a lot of people have trouble knowing exactly where all the seagulls are. Now, I included all the different locations in my Easter egg guide, so if you want to check it out, once again, I'll link that down below, but I can understand why this one gave some people some trouble, because it is literally all over the entire map on Blood of the Dead. They can spawn in the prison, in the cafeteria, on the roof, over in spawn. Like, there are definitely a lot of different locations, and it seems like they added a few in recently with a recent update about like 2 weeks ago. I noticed a couple new areas that I had never seen the bird before. So just make sure that you guys have your shield out and you crank up your volume all the way so you can actually hear the seagull, because that is the biggest, most important thing that you can do when you're doing this step. Make sure that your volume is loud and you don't have any music playing or anything like that to distract you or not allow you to actually hear the seagull. So that one comes in at the number 7 spot. Coming in at the number 6 spot requires, again, finding something, and this time it's going to be the skull on 9. Now, a lot of people have trouble finding the skull inside of the temple area of 9, where the pack-a-punch room is. Now, you need to find a skull that has a blue symbol on it, and you have to pull out your specialist weapon right next to it so it drops the skull, so you can pick it up and grind it eventually and make manure that you're going to place at the Danu temple at the bottom. Now, this can be very difficult, and I understand why this one is hard, because the room is so dark. The only thing I can really recommend is that you either know where they are, or you crank up your brightness all the way and have someone train a zombie away. Now, if you're playing solo, this is going to be a lot more difficult. You're pretty much going to have to round when you pull out your specialist weapon if there's zombies right next to you, unless you do it mid-round. So this is definitely a very hard step, and I would kind of agree with this one. I would say this is probably one of the harder steps that I usually have a difficult time with as well. It's just really hard to find the skull sometimes, and it's in areas you may not expect as well, or you've never seen before, but it's always going to be on one of those walls that has like all the skulls and stuff. So anyways, finding the skull on 9 comes in at the number 6 spot. Coming in at the number 5 spot is going to be the planet step. Now, this one causes a ton of people issues when it first came out, because not a lot of people understood how it worked, but once it was figured out and people made Easter egg guides, it became a lot easier. Now, like I said, I made a really good guide for this on Voyage. My guide's like 40 minutes long, so if you want to check that out, it'll be linked down below once again. But this step is really not that bad once you know exactly which planets are which and where the orbs are going to drop when you have to shoot the planet and grab it. And also, knowing the order is super important. So if you're able to record it with an Elgato, or literally take pictures or record on your phone or anything like that, it's going to help you out a ton in the long run. So you can literally write out the order of the planets and where each of them are, and it's going to help you out a ton when you're doing this Easter egg step. So it can be very difficult if you have people who don't really know what they're doing, but if you understand how the step works, it can be fairly easy. Coming in at the number 4 spot is another one that I was kind of surprised to see so high on the list, and this one is going to be the Simon Says step on Blood of the Dead. Now, this is definitely very difficult when you're playing solo. It seems like a lot of the Easter egg steps are, to be honest with you guys. Now, the Simon Says one, it only has a 5 combination, but I can understand why people have difficulty with it, because you need to always remember which generator lights up, and since there's so many different generators that can light up, it can get a little bit tricky. But there's only, I believe, 6 different generators, maybe 7, that light up, so it's really not too bad. But I can understand why people can get tripped up a little bit. So this one is pretty hard, I would say, for the later part. Once you get the 5 down, that's really easy, but then you also have to get the 3 symbols that light up on the generators, because 3 of them will light up once you finish, and you have to write those down so then you can go all the way to spawn, enter the key card into the Garage Crowley machine, and then figure out which corresponding symbols you need to shock the engineer that's pulling the different levers at the power station right near spawn. So this is definitely a pretty long step, and it can get really complicated, so I can understand why people have issues with this one, and it comes in at the number 4 spot. Coming in at the number 3 spot is going to be the raw step of the Easter egg. Now this one is really difficult because you have to go off based off symbols that are going to show up on the obelisk inside of the Ra temple. Now the really annoying thing about this is there's a bunch of different enemies that you have to kill. It can be catalyst zombies, it can be tigers, marauders, knights, or even get the Blight Father, which is the absolute worst. Now I'm going to show a small picture on screen, but I would recommend checking out an Easter egg guide. There's a ton of really good guides out there that you can check and actually understand like what each symbol is. So make sure you guys have a guide up for the actual symbols. I know there's a lot of them on like Reddit and stuff that you can just pull up so you can check what symbol it is and what zombie it is every single time, and that makes it a lot easier. But this is definitely one of the more trickier Easter egg steps, because sometimes, like for example, if you got Tiger as the 4th zombie you had to kill, it can like jump in front of you as you're shooting another zombie, which can be a huge pain in the butt, and you'll have to flip the round and go to the next round to kill all the zombies. So it can be really annoying, and I understand why this one is really high up on the list. Coming in at the number 2 spot, voted by you guys, is going to be doing the Morse code step on Blood of the Dead. Now, a lot of people commented that they have been trying to do this solo, and it is the worst thing solo. I can definitely imagine that, because you have to have a zombie and also be able to enter a Morse code signal into the Morse code actual like ticking thing, doing dots and dashes. So this is definitely a very hard step to do solo, and I can understand that. And after playing co-op, you can just have someone train a zombie and it becomes a lot easier. And to be honest with you guys, Morse code isn't too bad once you understand like the basics of how it works. Sometimes you can get really lucky with your first number, and once you kind of like understand and have been getting a lot of similar numbers, you can know what numbers to enter basically right away, immediately. So it can get easier over time. This is one that is also going to be one of those things that you can learn and get better at as time progresses. The more you do it, the more you practice, the better you're going to get at it with pretty much anything in life. So this step comes in at the number 2 spot. Alright guys, so I have a quick honorable mention, and this one is going to be getting to around 150 on classified. Now, someone has done it legitimately in the Spanish community, so big props to him. I don't actually know his name, but it has been completed legitimate now. So the biggest thing is find a really good strategy that works and hope that the game doesn't blue screen while you're doing this or crash. So it can be done, but it's still pretty rare. I didn't want to include this one because I don't think getting to around 150 is really considered a main Easter egg step, in my personal opinion. So anyways, that's the honorable mention in this top 10. And coming in at the number 1 spot, a lot of people commented this one. This is the new industries step in the Blood of the Dead Easter egg. Now, what you have to do is kill a zombie inside of the Mob of the Dead spawn room in Blood, and it's going to spawn a ghost. Now, what you have to do is shield blast the ghost, and then the ghost is going to find a murder weapon. Now what you have to do is keep shocking him with a shield blast and use your key to actually shock him so he shows up. Now you have to do this a bunch of times, and it's scaled depending on how many players you have in the game. In solo it's 4, in 2-player I believe it's 6, in 3-player I believe it's 8, and in 4-player I believe it's 10. Now they might have changed it and lowered it a little bit since then, since the last time I did it, but what you have to do is basically the easiest way to do this one and cheese it is basically block the ghost in the door and just keep doing it over and over. But if you can't do that, you're gonna need to kill zombies mid-round with the key and actually use this. Now sometimes it can be a huge pain because you have to go all the way over to the new industries building where the first dog location is, so definitely it can be really tricky. And then you have to kill him with the trap, which you need to make sure you have enough points for. Sometimes you don't have enough points. I experienced that firsthand and it was not fun. And once you do that and kill him, then you can complete that actual like quest or step of the Blood of the Dead Easter egg. This is probably the hardest challenge that I think we've ever had in an Easter egg. This one is just really annoying and a lot of people had trouble with this one, and that's the one that got the absolute most comments. There was at least 15 comments about this one specifically, so I can definitely understand. So anyways guys, that is going to be the top 10 hardest Easter egg steps in Black Ops 4 Zombies so far. If you guys did enjoy the video, make sure to drop a like and subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.